Hello friends and welcome to my Position 5 tier list for patch 7.34D. These are the best hard supports you can play right now if you're interested in gaining MMR, and I will try to differentiate between the pro scene and the pub scene because they are a little bit different. The first S tier hero I want to mention is Treant Protector, probably not too surprising if you've been following the pro scene at all. He is in the first phase picks and bans for a lot of teams because he is a very strong laner, extremely consistent. There's only a few matchups where he doesn't do well. He almost always goes even in the laning stage or wins with his high base damage and powerful slows, the healing from Leech Seed. After the laning stage, he can scout people out on this giant map with his shard, just invisibly find them and then punch root to set up for everyone else to then follow in, a powerful ultimate to pierce BKBs, and then the living armor allows him to contribute globally while protecting towers or farming a dead lane himself and then still contributing to his team somewhere else. Plus, all these heroes building Blade Mail and Heart, lots of HP on his teammates. He makes that even more effective by boosting their armor with living armor, and that makes them even tankier to physical damage. In your pub games, Treant Protector is still very strong, but he does better the higher MMR you are. Now, even at the lowest MMR in Herald, he does have an above 50% win rate, so he is a good hero. There's a couple supports better than him in the pub scene, but no matter what your bracket is, you can play him. You just might find it easier the higher up you go, and the more people will take advantage of you giving them a good lane and being able to scout people out. They're not just going to keep AFK farming. They're going to be like, oh yeah, I'll go get that kill with you. So the higher up you go, the easier it is to play this hero and win games. The second hero I want to talk about, which I'm not strictly going in any particular order, but you know what I mean. Number 2 that we're going to talk about is Witch Doctor. Now here is a hero that is kind of the reverse of Treant Protector. Excellent in the pub games we play, but not seeing a lot of play in the pro scene because he's a little bit easier to play around. The ultimate, you can cancel that. You may not believe that in your pub games. They never try to do it, but it is actually possible in the pro scene, and they know to prioritize him, to stay out of the Maledict, to stay out of the cask bounces, all of that. So they can play around Witch Doctor, and it's not such a big deal there. But in pub games, he has been cracked ever since they turned his ultimate into pure damage. They've been trying to balance it out, but he is still the #1 win rate support in the pub games. So if you want to gain MMR, pick Witch Doctor. I made a guide on it, so you can check that out if you want. But the cask helps you farm up, you get your ultimate, and many people just will not deal with it properly, and you'll get easy kills throughout the entire game. As soon as you hit 6 until like 80 minutes into the game, you are still doing insane damage with that ultimate. Next S tier hero is Warlock. Again, you won't see him too much in the pro scene right now, more than Witch Doctor at least, but he is still extremely strong in pub games in my opinion, and I'm going to put more emphasis on that because we play pub games. If we want to gain MMR, you guys want to gain MMR, then I want to keep it practical with the pub games. So Warlock, pretty consistent laning stage since they added the imps spawning from Fatal Bonds. They have tried to nerf his other abilities, including Fatal Bonds, a little bit to pull him back into line, but Warlock has always been strong in pub games because they tend to go very late, and Fatal Bonds is excellent as you go throughout the game, and then your ultimate, if you manage to buy Ag's Refresher, because the game just goes so long, you get gold, then that is one of the best late game teamfight combos there is. So Warlock, strong in the laning stage, do the Fatal Bonds change, and then now Upheaval as well, doing damage, being able to spawn imps with the shard. Just very consistent impact where he didn't used to have that before, into the same late game impact of Fatal Bonds, Ag's ult. I think he's a great pub hero. Final S tier hero I want to mention is Nature's Prophet. This is probably not that exciting. You have seen these heroes in S tier before, but they're still just good. Now, Nature's Prophet did get a series of nerfs since he first came out, and he was absolutely busted. I still think he's really good in pub games, though, because there is so much chaos in pub games that you can make use of teleport to show up to all these different places and tilt the game in your favor. But little asterisk by this, you gotta be good at map awareness. You have to be good at identifying what farm you can take for your team to maximize the greedy yet still early active pressure play of Nature's Prophet. If you don't know what you're doing, it is very easy to grief by ulting too often, just stealing farm, by not rotating. At that point, you could play any other hero in the game. By farming the wrong spots, you're just playing another core from the position 5. Now, that's not what I want, but if you kind of know what you're doing, and maybe you've watched some of the Nature's Prophet guides, and you know how to take advantage of like the different parts of the map that no one else is on, and help gank all throughout the game, and take advantage of that pub game chaos, then I do think Nature's is a completely legitimate support who also happens to scale really well into like a pseudo core as the game goes on. Not that we're specifically planning to do that or griefing our team by playing like a core, but we have that potential, and I think that is excellent when you want to solo carry your pub games as much as you can. If we're talking about the pro scene, then Witch Doctor and Warlock would definitely drop down a couple tiers. Maybe Warlock could still be A to B tier. Witch Doctor's probably down like C or D tier. Nature's, I think, depending on the player and how the team operates, can still be considered an S tier or A tier position 5. Treant's definitely in here. For your pub games, let's move on to the A tier though. Grimstroke, he's good. He is arguably S tier at the pro scene as well. Inkswell got a lot better since they made it 5 seconds and you can choose when it ends, so that's made it a lot easier to do things like cancel teleports, activate it before the enemies can escape. The shard has a dispel component to it, so previously it was very awkward with 3 seconds. The things you needed to dispel just, 3 seconds, hang on, almost, right? But now you can dispel activate like as soon as you need it, and that has made it much better. So Inkswell, just all around better. The other spells, all solid still. The ultimate is great for leashing together many of these tanky melee heroes that are being picked in the meta right now. Maybe you don't see that in your pub games, but at the pro scene, that's part of why that is good. The silence is strong against these slow attack speed tanky heroes, so it takes them forever to get rid of it. Just a great hero all around. In pub games, you won't have as much coordination with Inkswell, and that's frustrating. That's why I moved him down A tier, and maybe if you are lower down in like Herald Guardian, maybe he goes down lower, but the higher up in MMR you go, I think he is a very good hero right now. Ancient Apparition, S tier in the pro scene, in the pub games, lacking coordination and draft to set up for him to make him truly S tier in my opinion. Cold Feet in the laning stage, you really want a carry who has some kind of stun to make it easy to play aggressively. They just stun, you Cold Feet, or swap that. You Cold Feet, they stun, Cold Feet then procs, and you just get a tons of damage in there, if not a straight up kill. Long range poke through the lane, Ice Vortex, great for stalling out the laning stage, farming dead lanes, or pushing aggressively, scouting information. It's a very versatile skill now that it gets free damage on it, whereas before you used to have to buy the shard. Shard now provides a stun, or it provides Cold Feet on your ultimate, which is quite nice. It frequently leads to a pretty quick stun after your ultimate lands, which is great. The ultimate prevents healing, and there's a lot of healing right now on these tanky heroes building Heart of Tarask, so he's excellent against certain heroes, but especially just this overall meta where there is a ton of healing. The ultimate is a lot of free damage anytime your team sets something up, like, hey, Chronosphere these couple heroes, hey, I blink stun this, then Ancient Apparition just follows up with a low cooldown ultimate. That is the part that is lacking in pub games. There is, just not this high tempo play in many brackets. And that's kind of what Ancient Apparition wants. He wants active heroes to go do things so he can just throw out the ultimate and finish things off. If you have to do it yourself, it is extremely difficult and inconsistent. I mean, maybe you're awesome. Maybe you're great at these skill shots. I know I'm not. And in the pro scene, they prefer not to depend on that. They want the setup from stuns. And unfortunately, in pub games, that's where it can be a little lacking. Phoenix has percentage healing and damage on Sunray. That means that all these tanky heroes on your team are getting healed more. The percentage is the same, but because their flat amounts of HP are higher, you're getting a better value from that. And in the same way, the enemy tanky heroes are taking tons of percentage damage, even though they're buying these Heart of Tarask. That is perfectly fine. I'm still burning away a percentage of your HP. So tons of damage and healing from Phoenix. The attack slow is very annoying for these melee strength heroes who don't have a lot of attack speed, and that makes your egg even better because it's very difficult to kill the egg when you are melee and attacking slowly. You got to run up, you're taking tons of sunray damage, you're scared, you want to run away, and so Phoenix is doing great. Again, another S tier hero in the pro scene. In the pub games, I think Phoenix actually could possibly be S tier, but you got to know how to play Phoenix. Many of you, maybe if you haven't touched Phoenix, it is not the easiest hero to just pick up and go. You will learn it. It's not the hardest hero out there, but the initial way to play Phoenix, because you're playing with a lot of HP, stuff like that, it can be a little tricky. Getting good egg placements can be a little tough, stuff like that. So to me, that keeps Phoenix at A tier, but any of you Phoenix specialists, this is S tier potential right here. Just spam Phoenix if you want. Shadow Demon, I actually think could maybe go down a tier as a position 5. I kind of prefer him position 4. He works. That sounds weird. It's not a very strong selling point for an A tier hero. Here's the thing. I think he's very strong against certain heroes. For example, Primal Beast is very popular, and your ultimate kind of wrecks Primal Beast. It really slows many of these melee tanky heroes. The percentage damage from Disseminate means that when you throw it on a tanky hero, everyone's doing bunches of damage to that tanky hero that is being shared to everyone else in that area, kind of like Fatal Bonds in a way. If that helps make sense. So there's like a damage amp from Shadow Demon, and that's pretty good right now. But some matchups are just not very good, and there can be a lot of miscoordination with disruption and your teammates. Even though it can be a good ability to use against the enemies, there's some complications there. So Shadow Demon can be a bit tricky in pub games, and that's why I'm kind of okay moving him down a tier. And in the pro scene, actually his win rate's not great, but you can see it. Like when a Shadow Demon is doing well, you're like, man, this hero is ridiculous. So I have a little bit of trouble placing him. I wouldn't mind if he goes lower, but I really think he does have some amazing games where he is like for sure A tier. Vengeful Spirit, ever since her W got the total attack damage reduction, she's become very meta. She has been getting nerfed, and that's why she has dropped from an S tier hero to an A tier hero, but I still think she is very solid overall if you want to play her. Just a pretty decent laning stage, not as strong as some of these other heroes, but she does still have negative armor, which I think is good against these tanky heroes, because the easiest way to go through tanky heroes is with physical damage, and she combos quite nicely with popular heroes like Bristleback and Chaos Knight. You have stuns to set them up, you have more negative armor for their physical damage, and then swaps to save people when you need to. That is still there for you. So I still think she's a great hero if you want to play her. Dazzle is actually a better core than a support right now. He's a very powerful mid hero, and then offlaner is second. You don't play him carry. You can play him in the position 5/position 4, but position 5 is much better in my opinion. And that's kind of why pros value Dazzle a lot for that flex value. In pub games, if you want to just pick Dazzle knowing you're playing position 5, there's maybe not so much flex value of, oh yeah, we'll swap mid, that kind of thing in pub games. But position 5, you're still all around solid, lots of healing and graves right now. The armor manipulation to give your tanky heroes more armor and reduce the armor of the enemy tanky heroes is very powerful right now. And because Dazzle is a powerful core, that means there's a lot of scaling potential there. And in our pub games, which tend to drag out, Dazzle, we're picking up those items and kind of becoming a core as the game goes on, and then I get to be powerful. So I do like Dazzle. He is different than he used to be ever since his ultimate changed. I probably wouldn't recommend getting Midas. Ooh, that is tempting. It's tempting, but you probably don't need it as a position 5. I would just like buy normal items and then work towards the Aghanims so you can affect more of the enemy team with it. Arcane Blink is good. Octarine Blink if the game is going late. Okay, not first rush items. As a support, the usual like Force Staff, Glimmer, Arcane Boot type items, those are still totally fine. Solar Crest, those are good. But when the game goes late, those are the items I recommend. Start imitating a core, and you'll find you have a lot of late game potential. Jakiro is not seeing too much play in the pro scene, but in pub games, he still has a very high win rate. I think it's because pub games just don't follow the meta as much, and in the pro scene, a lot of people are building Blade Mail and Heart of Tarrasque, and that's pretty painful for Jakiro, who has a lot of uncontrollable damage. Now, actually, the Shard on Jakiro does do percentage HP damage, so I'm a little surprised we don't see it more. But also that means you have to buy a shard to get the percentage damage, and then again, you just get totally wrecked by blade mails when you put it down. So I kind of think that's why people aren't playing Jakiro, because even if you get to the Aghanim's poor damage macrophire, they're like, I'm just going to stand in here with my Heart of Tarrasque, and it doesn't really bother me all that much, and then you're just like, oh, that's kind of okay. But in pub games, they don't follow the meta as much. Jakiro is a very solid laner, and just like, he's one of my favorite heroes for pub games because he just does so much, right? You want to play like a basic support who just wins the lane and does all regular support stuff, Jakiro will do it. You need to be more greedy. You got the wave clear. You got the tower damage. You want to scale up. The Aghanims is quite strong with the right talents, things like that. People in pubs are not always following the meta with like hearts and blade mails, so then you get away with it. Then we have Oracle. Same with Dazzle, actually. In pub games, people are just bad at prioritizing the savers, and so they just, they kill whoever they want to kill, and then that means you're just sitting behind that guy as the Oracle and the Dazzle, and you're like, ult, save that guy, sick. So Oracle still benefits from that, and with everyone building hearts and stuff, when you ult your tanky hero who just absorbed tons of spells and they're trying to commit to kill that guy, that guy's going to heal to full. He's getting tons of Heart of Tarrasque regen. You're healing him up. He's going to pop out full health. The enemy has to kill him a second time through his Blade Mail Heart, and that is a lot. Or swap that when your core is trying to kill the enemy Blade Mail, and they're like, I'm going to die to Blade Mail. You ult them, you heal them, you're like, you're good to go. Keep hitting that guy. Finish him off. All right, so Oracle, pretty nice. Not as popular in the pro scene, but these are pub games, so if you like them, there you go. All right, I'm just gonna kind of brush through the rest of this. B tier are all solid heroes, but just for some reason not as good as other, A, S tier heroes, but still decent. If you want to play them in your pub games, it'll be totally fine. Enchantress, probably like SA tier if you're an Enchantress specialist in the right games. Pros will still play her. Same as Undying. Some of you might be surprised, why isn't Undying more popular with so many strength melee heroes? One, this hero got nerfed a lot in other regards, so even though he is good against these strength heroes, he then is just less of a Dota hero than some of the others, but still good enough that some pro teams are picking him up. I also think there is actually too much strength for Undying, because you're like, oh, so they're all strength melee heroes, I'm gonna decay them, hey guys, check it out, I hit all of them, and they're like, oh no, I only have 4,300 health now. Oh, so like that's the thing, many of these melee strength heroes are actually coming from the mid lane as well, so they don't even interact with Undying, and then by the time they do, they just don't care that he's stealing a bit of strength from them. So in the end, still technically good for strength heroes, but I just don't think fully good enough, especially when you can deal with those strength heroes with these other heroes like AA and Phoenix, and they're just better heroes right now. Pugna got a buff in 7.34D. I just haven't seen him enough. He might actually deserve to be higher up, but just haven't gotten to see enough of Pugna yet. Muerta might surprise some of you. She is just good enough and flexible enough that I think you can play her as a support, and many pros want to practice her so that you can pick her early and she can be your carry, position 4, and maybe position 5. She's also just fun. She's really cool with the dead shot. It is hard. The skill shots are difficult. I'm garbage at it. If you guys are also garbage at it, she will not be good. You must be very good with her abilities to make her work as a support. Otherwise, she is easier to play as a core, specifically a carry, where you also need to be good with her skill shots, but it's less important because you go, pew, 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 gunslinger, Muerta, and that's easy. You just A-click. But as a support, you don't do much right-clicking damage. You really got to be good at skill shots. So if you're not, I would not try her, but it's a video game, right? Give her a go, but expect to lose and not have a lot of impact if you're not good with the skill shots. And then I just don't have too much to say about the C and the D tier heroes. They're all heroes you could play if you really want. Weaver might deserve to go higher. Same as some of these all could go higher, but they're just not very popular. I don't see them enough. So the last I saw them and the last my gut feeling was they're pretty bad. Some of them are really good 4s, just we're talking about position 5 in this list, so they're not the best here. I always get comments from you guys, how could you think this hero is bad? Guys, position 4 versus position 5. Reminder, this is the position 5 tier list, so some of these heroes are better at position 4, such as Earthshaker, and he goes in A or B tier there, but as a position 5, I think he is down here. Not that you can't make him work, but just compared to every other position 5 you could pick, he's down here. So that's it. Hope you guys found this helpful. I will make a position 4 tier list next. It'll probably come out tomorrow if you want to check it out. If I don't have time to edit in too many video clip examples, my apologies. I'm kind of rushing to get these out before I head to TI. If you see me at TI, say hello. Bye. See you in the position 4 tier list video.